Kyle and Cody's Cult Cinema Cast Season 2, which is beginning on this fine September day, which we're recording on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I said something about us reviewing Animosity. We're not reviewing Animosity because it's not available in Canada. And while that fact doesn't make me feel bad about the idea of pirating it, we just didn't feel like it. We decided against it. We're just going to do Blood Quantum, which was something that was sitting on my desk.
Also, the sites that I normally like take stuff off, I couldn't find anything from Animosity on it. And I mean, it is like such a small indie film that
newer film.
It might be harder to find.
Could be.
Not even newer, just
I guess, yeah, I suppose it's like 5 years old.
Yeah.
It's 5 years old, yeah. Yeah, no, that sucks. Yeah, and we're probably not revisiting it within the season. We'll do an episode on it at some point for fun. But I don't think we're touching on it in the season. Just I've already packed it, and this way it ends at like a nice episode 50, and I really don't want to mess with that. Just how it works. So yeah, we're doing Blood Quantum, which is a 2019 Canadian film. Always good to get another Canadian film onto the podcast. Good number of them on here, but it's good to have one more.
This one based out of Quebec and New Brunswick.
Yeah, filmed in some First Nations in Quebec, and the movie is set on the Mi'kmaq Reserve. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not great at that. Yeah, it's based in the Mi'kmaq Reserve in Red Crow in Nova Scotia. It's supposed to be, and it's on like an island. But yeah, it's actually I found this on one of the things referenced in one of the reviews I read. It's the highest budgeted movie directed by a North American First Nations director. Apparently. Yeah. I guess. It's 55 million, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Which is respectable. That's a quarter of a superhero movie. Directed by Jeff Barnaby, who's from Quebec. Mostly First Nations. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say it was premiered at the 2019 Toronto International Film Festival, where it was named second runner-up for People's Choice Awards in the category of Midnight Madness.
Fair enough.
And I mean, it's clearly made enough because you bought it, right?
Yeah, I got it. I don't know if it got a theatrical release. I don't remember if it got released before pandemic or not. But it's pretty good. I forget when I bought it. I guess it released in 2019, so it would have went through.
Yeah.
Mostly First Nations cast. Michael Grey Eyes plays the main character. We got Kiowa Gordon playing the antagonist. Forrest Goodluck. Ellie Maja Tailfeathers. Yeah, lots of... It's like a few of the most significant non-First Nations actor is, I guess, Forrest Goodluck's character's Joseph's girlfriend, Olivia, played by Olivia Scriven, Charlie, and she's the most significant one of the non-First Nations actors, but there's a couple other ones here and there. There's a cop, there's a guy, a girl. So it is a zombie film. So that's pretty nice. Have we done a zombie film yet?
A zombie film?
Yeah. I don't think so we have.
We've had to have.
No. I don't think so. I don't know, flip through this real quick. Flip through the season. No. No zombie film.
I think we have one coming up in season 2.
Oh yeah, we do have at least one. Yeah, we have one more, which I'll be doing with one of the other co-host we're bringing on, and that'll be in October. By the way, just for reference, we're not doing a randomized list this year, mostly because of Halloween season. I had to like bundle all those horror movies into 1 month anyway, so it made sense. And also Christmas, which involved me putting movies into Christmas season. I had a few other winter themed ones I threw in there. And just there were so many dates I wanted to get stuff tied into. I just decided not to do a randomized list. And I figured, yeah, because it was like half the list was planned out on specific days with some
or
wiggle
with other
room, but yeah.
people. So
Yeah, not so much that even. Just the like I mean, after the point where you've like scheduled out, you have to schedule out like 2 months worth of episodes, you might as well do the rest, right?
yeah,
And that's the situation I was in. So yeah, sorry. Maybe we'll get into that a bit more later. But it didn't work. It just didn't seem point. There wasn't much point of it doing this time. Anything else we want to talk about? Yeah, our first zombie film, probably the scariest film we've done. In my opinion, maybe yeah. Though we didn't do a
I
ton
don't
of horror in season one, really. We did Dracula, but
know.
that's not yeah, we did Dracula, but that's not really all that not to a modern audience at least. Um
Yeah,
Certainly
and then we did
iconic, but yeah.
No Hands of Faith.
Yeah, which was bad. So uh couple action films, but like nothing really horror. Everything yeah, anything like we had some horror lots of horror themed stuff, just not any real horror stuff. Um just how that worked out. But yeah, nice little film. Yeah, it was mean to get to it, and I just didn't initially fit it onto. I was kind of bummed out I didn't manage to fit it on the initial season two run, so I decided just to switch it out since I was sitting around and I was waiting for an excuse to watch it because I only get an occasional moment to like watch something outside of what I watch for the show. So I did
I mean,
that. Like
we slotted in a horror movie for a horror movie, so I'm not exactly
yeah, exactly.
impressed about that. So. And this
Yeah,
is Canadian. So.
yep, another Canadian film. I always like to have Canadian films on the show. Yeah, I've just like leaning into that as much as I can. Canadian director, a lot of Canadian actors, so it's nice to get a thing. And this is a pretty good Canadian film, honestly. So I guess we'll get into this. This made a bit of a splash because it did like a lot of its like a lot of it refers to like a bunch of metaphor, everything from colonialism to byproducts of colonialism. Because really everything's descends from colonialism. I guess there's environmentalism, but I mean, from in this context, kind of a result of colonialism. So yeah, can't
And
really.
it's set almost 30 years ago.
40, full 40 now. It's set in
Yeah, I got
1981. Yeah.
yeah. Which it has a good. It keeps to that pretty decently.
Yeah. It's conveniently apparently the same year as some shit the Quebec government did to First Nations in Quebec, which was something about raids, and it was pretty dumb and racist. I didn't do much research on it. I just saw that in there, but it's coincides with like a real event, I suppose. I can't get into it because I didn't look into it, but apparently, and it's something that happened when Jeff Barnaby was a kid. So I think how old is he?
It does not say. It just says he
I
is.
guess he would have been. Yeah, I'm just finding he was born in the reserve at List Google, Quebec. I'm butchering that. It says he graduated in
There is no
2001.
L in there.
But yeah, yeah, no, he's pretty young. But yeah, he would have been pretty young when this stuff happened. But anyway, yeah, I guess we'll get into it. It starts with a quote, with like a showing of a quote on that they refer to as an ancient settler proverb, which is I looked at I found it in one of the reviews I was doing. It's apparently a quote from Exodus. The quote they put out in the movie, yeah, the quote is in full: "Take heed to thyself that thou make no treaty with the inhabitants of the land, for when they whore themselves to their demons and sacrifice to them, you will eat their sacrifices. When you choose some of their daughters for your sons, they will lead your sons to do the same." Yeah, so it's that's actually a taken from Exodus, which that quote is apparently slightly more accurately. It's slightly abridged, shortened. The real quote is apparently: "Take heed to thyself that thou make no treaty with the inhabitants of the land, whither thou goest, lest it be cause of ruin among you. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and burn down their groves. When they whore themselves to their demons and sacrifice them, you will eat their sacrifices. When you choose some of their daughters for their sons, they will lead your sons to do the same." So yeah, it's actually very close. So that's a quote from Exodus, which I don't know why they didn't say for sure. I guess it's a way of dehumanizing the statement, which is fine in this context, I think. But it's just a interesting creative choice they've made. Although maybe it was just to keep like that's not something you'd recognize as a Bible quote for the most part, so it's
Mhm.
maybe just to keep some of the crazies off their back, because you got to do like you have to know the research, and I get like who's like people that don't know aren't going to call you on it.
Yeah.
Speaking of reviews, I found this one fucking review.
Oh,
I guess from the Pop Times, which I clicked on. Didn't really read because it had like conveniently very bad pop-up ads on it. Um, Blood Quantum review: Indigenous zombie thriller goes soft on gore. What?
really?
How is this soft on gore? Yeah, in what fucking like what are we comparing it to fucking like Italian horror, like Italian schlock horror? Like is this a fucking uh
Just straight
Lucio
snuff
Fulci?
films.
Like I've seen a Lucio Fulci film. It's not that much. It's not like I would hesitate to say this is less gory than a Fulci film. Like
I mean, there was this scene where the guy takes the
yeah,
chainsaw to the back of somebody's head and just like lets it run for like
exactly.
30 seconds. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And like what is this guy comparing it to? Like how is this like by what definition? Not a normal person's definition. And like I know people that have watched like gory thing, like really gory things, like way gorier than I've ever watched. And like I'd be surprised if they ever said this was light on gore. Like what? Just seems like you're making shit up there. Shitty website, by the way. Like I clicked on it, it's fucking front page on Google featured ad, and like I click on it and it starts putting like obnoxious pop-ups and telling me I have viruses and whatnot. So
yeah,
don't click on anything for Pops Times, I guess.
I mean, when you Google something and it says it's a featured ad, why would you click on it in the first place?
I didn't see it at first. I was just trying to pick on also, I mostly clicked on it because that was in the tagline, and I wanted to see this guy's argument. I obviously
Mhm.
never looked into it. I say guy's argument. It's written by the Pop Times news team, so
It took
whatever.
a team of writers
Not
to
even a
do that.
person. Yeah, apparently, not
God
even.
damn it.
I mean, that means they Google. That means they copy pasted a lot of it, probably. Um,
Mhm.
So yeah, that's how it opens. It opens. It shows us that this is taking place on the Red Crow First Nation. I suppose they use the term on the thing they call it. I guess a lot of them are still called Indian reservations. But I mean, if you're renaming it in the modern day, you'd probably call it Red Crow First Nation. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not that deep into reserve politics.
I'm taking this all in school.
Yeah, I've taken a little bit of it. I did my indigenous studies class too, and I did
Uh-huh.
take Cree at one point, but that's yeah. Anyway, so we cut to a old man, no older man, not like solidly grandpa age, but not like old ancient. He is gutting some fish, which he has fished out of the river, and as he guts them out in a very graphic gutting fish scene. So I guess animal gore doesn't count, people. Granted, people have seen this in real life, like lots of people fish, but I mean, this isn't something exactly you'd show in a kids' film.
Yeah.
So he guts out these fish, and after a while, one of them starts jumping, and then the other ones start jumping. So zombie fish, which is a neat little difference from a lot of the other zombie films. They usually don't zombify the animals a lot of the time. Occasionally it happens,
And they still
but
don't.
mostly because it's difficult. I suppose they did it in the they did it with the one with the dog in the I Am Legend movie. I've seen it in some other movie in some other mediums, but yeah, it's just not as common. So we're breaking from tradition a little bit.
Hmm. But I mean, they bring it up a lot, or they've brought it up at least 2 or 3 times in the movie itself.
Yeah, they have at least two other animals turn undead, or at least one other animal turn undead. They point out later in the movie that the deer and moose sort of thing, like herbivores, apparently are. I guess particularly they mentioned deer aren't turning, so they're good to eat. Which
Hmm.
I guess it's herbivorous stuff is not getting infected, because I think a lot of fish are carnivorous. If I know my fish, which I don't. I'm not a
Or it's a
marine
pollution thing.
biologist. Yeah, that could also be it. It's direct line to you're getting direct line to pollution, and that is one of the metaphors in the movie of this being a environmental disaster, which is a big thing actually, because as it turns out, if you pollute the water supply, that screws over a lot of communities if they don't have like a ton of money to drop on water treatment plants for everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big thing. Because and that's historically screwed over a few First Nations in particular. I
Yes.
know that was I know my Indigenous Studies prof was made a big deal of bringing that up a few times, which is totally fair. It's hurts poor townships. Period. So yeah, don't pollute the water supply. Don't be a Captain Planet villain.
Yes.
Is that what you want to be the bad guy in a D grade kids show? You need to be a bad guy in an A grades kids show at least. B grade. C grade even. C grade at least is campy and fun. And you're actually doing something evil.
What
You're
is
just not even.
what's like an A grade kids show?
I don't know. Avatar, pretty good, I guess. Uh I
And
like
who is the
Adventure Time
villain
quite a
in
bit.
that?
I mean, I'm not saying he was a Fire Lord Ozai who was very evil. He was pretty cool.
What was his
Adventure
plan though?
Time had take over the world. It was imperialism,
Yeah, but the
basically. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It's an
Very
allegory for the
different, I guess.
Japanese Empire, sort of. Yeah. We get a little bit of a animated little. They have a couple brief animated segments in this where they show off in this scene like smokestacks, and they show off the pollution and whatnot. These are animated pretty good. I think the person who animated is I saw I think it was a her in the credits named Chief Ladybird, which I assume is a she, just based on the name Ladybird. So yeah, she does a good job with that. If I have that wrong, whatever. But it's yeah, pretty well animated. It's they have like one very early in the movie, and then one way toward the end, which is quite nice. A lot. Next, we get a bunch of very nice like outdoors shots, which I'm they got good money. They spent their money well on these. These are like IMAX documentary shots. And I really like. I was watching this. I'm like, I'd love to see this on IMAX. You think if I called the guys in Regina, they'd let me screen it there? Get the Science Center to show Blood Quantum.
Just name drop
Yeah, yeah. Just say, hey, I wanna
it.
finance like a special showing of a good Canadian movie that promotes First Nations issues and has like a commentary on colonialism and environmentalism. And I just think it would be very interesting to show to a Canadian audience in the West here. I just think it would be a nice little Canadian entertainment. Nice, wholesome Canadian entertainment. Or First Nations entertainment, I suppose,
I mean,
if you will.
if you word it like that, you might
Yeah,
if
they don't Google anything I say,
but
a cursory Google search foils
it'd
me
be
pretty well, but I don't know how smart the guys that running that are, for sure. I like the place though. I wouldn't want to trick them.
it's the
Yeah.
IMAX.
I like that little place. It's a nice place. It's I wouldn't want to trick them. I very much appreciate it. Spent a lot of nice vacations there. Saw Star Wars there when they were doing those. So, but yeah, no, these are like amazing outdoor shots that like do that thing where they like swerve around and move everywhere, and it's like makes people vomit if you're motion sick. So yeah, that's they get good money out of those. They're very nice. Our main character, Trailer, which is not spelled trailer like a thing. It's spelled like Taylor with an R, just for reference. He is a police. He is the one of the policemen in the Red Crow Reserve, and he gets called out to a dog which is dug into some trash and is sick and is he has to put it down. Turns out it's his ex's dog, and yeah, so doubly awkward. So yeah, he shoots it and puts it in the back of his trunk, and then goes down to.
Which never comes
No,
up
it
again.
does. It does. Because the
Does
dog
it?
comes back to life.
Okay, no, that's not what I'm saying. Did Trailer ever tell his ex-wife that he came to her house and shot her dog?
No, he came to like another player. The dog was at the other guy's house and shot her. He shot it there, like it was like at a neighbor's house, and then the next scene is him going down to his ex's house. A character named Joss, who is a nurse, and they go down there, and she says, "Oh, I know why you're here. I got a call from Dolores, who's a character in this movie, who's like the dispatcher for the Red Crow Police Department, whatever you want to say. And apparently, their son Joseph is in prison and is in the drunk tank with Trailer's other earlier son from an earlier relationship, whose name is Alan, but he is referred to in the movie as Lysol. I'm gonna call him Alan in this just because I don't entirely feel comfortable calling him Lysol. It just seems like a very bad nickname that he's acquired over time, and I just didn't want to. It's weird. So yeah, they're both in drunk tank, and they're only going to release them to Trailer. So that distracts him. He tells Joss that they'll pick Joseph up at noon, and that he can stay in there a while and stew about being an idiot. She asks him why he came without knowing what was going on with their son, and he kind of chickens out of telling her about the dog. And yeah, so he never brings it up for the rest of the movie. He never tells her, as far as we know. Yeah, I bet at some point there's a bit of a time skip in this movie a little later, and I'm guessing at some point there was a point where she was like, "Huh, I wonder whatever happened to my dog Haley," which is the name of the dog, and it's like, "Yeah, no shame, I never saw him. Wonder what happened." I mean, we know dogs have been turning into zombies, so I guess that might have happened at some point. But yeah,
I mean, they dodged a bullet
oh,
definitely on that one, but
uh, yeah, sort of, yeah, from a certain point of view.
I mean, the dog
No,
didn't,
yeah.
but somebody did.
Yeah. So yeah, he's just like, that's probably on a conversation where he's like, oh yeah, no, yes, yeah, never. I guess we'll never know. I guess it wandered off somewhere. It's a real shame because I know it would have been super hard on either of us to ever put a bullet toward our own friendly, beloved dog Haley. Such a good dog Haley was. Uh, let's just remember her as a good dog. She was a good dog who never hurt anyone, which is true, technically. Uh, so he ends up, he goes back into his car and talks with Dolores. She tells him a couple things. She tells him to go talk to his dad, who seems pretty scared. So he goes out there to talk to his dad, who tells him to look in a cooler, and then he gets shown the zombie fish, which he comes to the logical conclusion of, hey, we should burn these things. And
I mean, it was pretty spot on, correct?
yeah, that's a way to do it. Not a It's not like a weakness for these zombies, because the fish still move in the fire. As they're throwing these fish in the fire, they notice that they come to the conclusion that the dog might come to life. So he opens up the trunk of his car and shoots the dog as it jumps out. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So dogs and fish are coming back from the dead, which is bad news. We cut to Alan and Joseph in prison in the drunk tank with another guy who's vomiting into a toilet. He appears to be overdosing. I'm guessing from later events. I guess they just didn't notice. It's
Or hungover.
yeah, or like confused. They could definitely confused it for that, but he is. I think it's pretty evident that he was overdosing on some stuff, or had like a bad combination of stuff. Because I'm guessing that because short version, they have a bit of a conversation. It turns eventually the guy starts vomiting up blood, which I'm guessing is a result of some like bad stuff he took. So I'm guessing that eventually kills him, and it just took a little while for it to get to its worst state. So as this is happening, he shows up. Trailer shows up late to the town police station, and they get Joseph and Alan out of there. The cop, Shamu, they call him. He points out that Joseph had taken a shit from the top of a bridge and shit on some lady's car, and then fell on her car. So while intoxicated. So yeah. So they go to pick the two brothers. They go pick up the two brothers, and they find that uh, the guy in the cell with them has died. So and they find the two brothers half brothers standing in the corner of the cell. Eventually, the guy gets up and starts charging at everyone. He bites Joseph on the arm. I think he maybe no, he doesn't nick Trailer, but he also bites Shamu, Officer Shamu, pretty hard, and then they like all four of them have to like team up to get this guy on his to get this guy back into the cell, which they proceed to lock him in. So that happened. This is our first human zombie we see. So they drive off with them. They've had a bunch of conversations at this point. Exposition about Joseph's girlfriend Charlie being pregnant. Joseph goes to the hospital with Joss so that he can get a tetanus shot from getting bit, which is good medical procedure. Charlie's there. Joseph has a bit of a talk with her, a bit of a frank talk about what's going on in their relationship and whatnot. She's 3 months pregnant at this point. Joss tries to get some tetanus, but is informed by one of her fellow nurses that the ER has like cleared them out of tetanus because zombies. Short version. So yeah, at this point, the zombies start infesting the hospital pretty badly, and they start leaving. Trailer has gotten a message from a man called what did they call him? What was his
Sugar.
name? Cast Sugar. From a man named Sugar, who is a drug addict living with his girlfriend, and they've been trying to get a ambulance to come out to the hospital, an ambulance to come out to reserve to come pick her up. She is pregnant. They have been unsuccessful, and Trailer remarks that this is a bit of a problem around there. He goes over there after a little bit to maybe give them a hand or maybe drive her to the hospital because she is pregnant after all. He gets there to find Shooker out of his mind, like a high off, like very high, and like panicking. He's unable to get a straight Trailer is unable to get a straight explanation out of Shooker, so he goes in to find the girlfriend, who is standing in a room holding a mostly formed, partially like a she is standing in a room holding a dead fetus from the ankle, which is I guess this is very this is why I laughed at the like soft on the gore comment, because this is like the exact opposite of soft on the gore. This is like the high end of gore. Like this is very high gore. The fact that they've gone this far. And it introduces the most terrifying aspect of the movie, is that the babies can become zombies. That babies, like fetuses, can become zombies.
Mhm.
Because the implication is that she had taken some stuff that interacted negatively with her baby, killing it, which caused it to come back to life, that killed her, and then she became a zombie. And I'm not going to stop that explanation right there because it only gets worse. And this is the single most terrifying aspect of the movie, is dealing with the implications of like dead zombie babies,
Yeah.
which is yeah
That's something you normally see in zombie movies.
yeah no and I'm not like, if you have a problem with that, I'll maybe put that in the description for the episode. It's just like, hey, like I don't do content warnings a lot of the time. I've done it once before for the Mommy Dearest review because it described child abuse, and I thought that was a trigger warning. But I'll probably put one in this one too, because that is not something you want to get on. Yeah, that's gonna get a viewer discretion is advised. So yeah, she attacks him. She attacks Trailer, and Trailer flees from her after getting bit by her. He pulls her off of. He then gets his gun and pulls her off of Shooker, who she has jumped at, and smashes her head in with the butt of his shotgun, and killing her. Which they show in graphic detail. Soft on gore, my ass, because this is soft on gore. Soft on gore, everyone. Blood Quantum, soft on gore. Positively PG-13. Jeez. So they're driving into town. He's on the radio with Doris, and she tells him that Joss is going to meet him at the bridge with an ambulance. When he gets there, the driver is crashed through the window and is about to come back to life when Joss takes one of Trailer's handguns and shoots the man in the head. They then have to break open the back of the ambulance to kill a zombie who was in the back with Joseph. So yeah, they get saved by another one of the police station guys. I believe his name is Bumper, played by Brandon Oakes, if I am remembering correctly. He chops into her head with a chainsaw, and they have a discussion. They do the standard stuff of saying don't get bit, and yeah, this is a very trying scene. At this point, they cut to 6 months later. We've had a couple things established. It's been established that the North American indigenous peoples are, or at least the ones from this area of the country, are immune to the zombie virus, because they all get half of them get like half of our Trailer and Joseph both get nipped at some point by a zombie, causing and which they receive equivalent injuries to guys who are infected. So that's a nice, interesting little twist on this. And I'll give it this: it's more of an explanation we get for zombie virus immunity than we get in most stories. Normally, like a lot of the time, it's just like, oh, here's a couple random people, but here it's just like a latent genetic immunity, like maybe something that indigenous people have encountered in the distant past, which has been passed down through the genes forever, or possibly a magic. I don't know what the real explanation for this, but yeah, it's a bit more of an explanation than we normally get for zombie immunity. And yeah, so that's the premise of the movie. A bunch that indigenous peoples take a position of prominence, because they are able to more to take hits from the zombies and live, which the rest of the people can't. So yeah, so 6 months later, we cut to a compound which they have made on Red Crow, with shipping containers and buses and sheet metal put into a bit of a rectangular fort. They're also hanging a zombie soldier off the front gate for some reason, which I don't know. They make a little habit of this, which is a bit weird.
And they lob
I
off
think
their
it's
legs.
something that Alan. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. That's the way that you contain it. But I think it's something Alan did, because he captures zombies at several points later in the movie. They call them Zed in this movie, so yeah, that's a thing.
Do
Not the
we
most
use Zed
creative
or Z?
name, unless I'm missing something. Well, I think this is a amalgamation of zombie and dead. I don't think it's
Mhm.
using the letter Z. I think it's just smushing zombie and dead together, so Zed.
But do we use the letter Z or Z
Like
in the Canadian alphabet?
we yeah, we use Zed. Yeah, we
Okay.
use Zed. But yeah. So like it'd be spelled Zead. That's right, isn't it? I forget. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's one of the less frequent things I have to use. Um anyway, so a man, a wounded girl, and then another girl walk up to the gate. They have apparently been told to come here by Charlie, who has apparently been helping people helping bring people in, which Alan takes issue with because he wants to check things out. It's revealed that the young girl is bitten, and so they put her on a pallet and start debating how or who should kill her because she is going to turn into a zombie, which is a process which takes time, different amounts of time depending on where you're hit and where you're bit and whatnot. So they have this discussion. Trailer breaks it up by telling the man and the other girl to walk inside, to run and go inside, and to get checked out by Joss. Trailer ends up putting her down, putting the girl down. So there's a good bit of badness going on here. At this point, we get a bit of exposition about how they've set stuff up, and that we get the information that moose and deer are okay to eat. We get Alan's backstory about how he had been from Trailer had him when he was really young, and then his mom died at some point, so he doesn't really have anyone to take care of him. Charlie is quite nervous about her pregnancy, along with everyone else, because of what happened to Shooker's girlfriend, which understandable. She is a white girl, so it's not clear if the baby will be immune to the zombie virus. So that's a terrifying implication. Like, logic would dictate that the baby would be fine as long as they keep the baby alive anyway. So yeah, but it's kind of a terrifying notion altogether.
Mm-hmm.
If anything goes wrong, because things go wrong sometimes, let's face it. So they have a bit of this. The guy kills himself. The guy who had come to the gate kills himself in a bathroom. The girl is revealed to have been hiding a zombie bite, which is something that causes problems later on. Now, this is probably the biggest criticism I have of the movie, is because this is a they should probably have some very basic quarantine procedures would have solved all this movie's problems.
Or just any form of inspection.
Yeah. Yeah, thorough inspection, which is both of which are warranted. You could just be like, "Hey, full physical now. We gotta make sure you're not bit."
And they have a female nurse.
Yeah, so that's not even a thing. It's like Joss could be. Yeah, Joss could easily be doing it because she's the one who's examining everyone. So
Mhm.
yeah, this is pretty egregious.
I mean,
Very
they brought her
basic
to the
with the
side,
ubiquitous. Yeah,
and they were having a discussion about whether or not she's ever eaten flesh before. And instead of being like, "Hey, have you eaten flesh before? Have you been bitten? Can you just undress for me?"
yeah, it's like the zombie genre is so ubiquitous at this point that it's hard to like look over the flaws. It's like there's just everyone's thought of this to death, so that any little skip over of basic ideas of things that would keep you safe have been thought of. So I mean, it's breeds creativity, but we it's hard to overlook small problems like like easy to fix problems like this. And yeah, they could have held her in a place for a while. And yeah,
And I mean, there's always going to be that one asshole that thinks they're like immune to the virus, or
yeah, and they could have at least like yeah, and like they could have again easy ways to solve this: physical and or quarantining. She might have caused some issues if she had been caught, but I mean that still solves your problem long run. Yeah, they also bring up the fact that if something goes wrong here, they'll go to some boats at the edge of the island which are tied up, so they can wait out the bad stuff and then just come back in the winter when all the zombies get frozen, which is smart. Like, there's smart stuff they've clearly thought through, but this is just like a very glaring oversight.
I mean,
Um,
isn't that even an oversight?
yeah, it's weird that the boats aren't guarded either.
Well, I'm
Because,
just making the assumption that they don't know if zombies would freeze or not.
I mean, they should. I mean, this is like logic would dictate that they would, especially if they're not warm blooded anymore. Also, if like, I mean, this maybe this like this could easily just be solved by saying this actually takes place in northern Quebec,
Yeah.
where it's actually filmed, because they would absolutely freeze in northern Quebec. Like,
Mm.
that's like, I have no doubt in my mind that those things would be screwed. I guess the town they show is from Nova Scotia or New Brunswick. So there is that. That night, they're doing some partying down at a secondary location where a bunch of people go to get high and get laid and stuff. Alan eventually takes. There's a bit of foreshadowing that goes on here. He talks to Joseph a little bit, and he talks about how they have a bit of stuff about their relationship, and how as Joseph at this point has been very sympathetic to Alan, but Alan has been saying that, hey, give it time, you'll think I'm an asshole, and yeah, that's a bit of mincing words. That's a bit of really foreshadowing there. So he eventually goes into the room with the girl who had just arrived today, because apparently they had hooked up before everything happened. Joseph has a conversation with Shooker where Shooker talks about how the white man doesn't understand that the white man doesn't understand that the earth is an animal, and that it's just had enough of the white man's shit, so they came after them, or maybe it's just forgot about them. And yeah, he gives a little bit of spiritual superstition about how this might be a thing, but I think it's actually a pretty decent speech. And I said, the way I said it initially sounded a little bit dismissive, but I think it's a very genuine way of looking at the situation, and I think it's a very it's a very good way of looking at the world, and it's very neat because we get a little normally with these we've had a ton of these zombie movies, like talk about this from like a Christian perspective of like, and the dead shall rise from the earth, and like revelations and stuff. But it's nice being able to like genuinely explore this from another culture's point of view, and how their own culture and spirituality would interact with the concept. Because I mean, zombie is a the zombie as we know it is a pop culture concept. It's not rooted in mythology like the vampire, or even some native First Nations mythology of like Wendigo, or Skinwalkers, I think is one. But yeah, so it's a pop culture idea. I mean, there is a like a zombie is a voodoo thing, but voodoo zombies are very different than this George Romero type zombie that we explore. It's just a word they use. And honestly, we probably using something like The Walking Dead might be more accurate. Just a way of doing it, because really these don't have anything to do with the voodoo zombies. But yeah, it's just very
Yeah.
interesting to see this interacted with in a different way. So after this, Joe goes to check on Alan. The girl has has turned into a zombie and has bitten off Alan's dick. So yeah, he is also incredibly high on hard drugs right now. So at this point, he begins his drug-addled, rage-induced plan to fuck everyone over. And this is the point where he becomes the complete villain. So they eventually tie up this girl and tie up, and he also ties up Joe. Or no, Joe goes to get him out. They've tied up this zombie for whatever reason. It doesn't make too much sense that they didn't kill this that they didn't kill her, but it's possible that they didn't have weapons on them, so they had to tie her up to restrain her and just popped her in the back of the trunk so they could dispose of her at their leisure. He pulls up to the compound, and Joe tries to help Alan out of the vehicle, and then Alan stabs him so that they can unleash the zombie into the compound, killing all the non-native people in the compound because they had been taking. This hasn't been. I think I forgot to mention this earlier, but the Red Crow First Nations people have been taking in people because, I mean, first of all, right thing to do, but it's the right thing to do, but it is at significant risk to them. But they do take on that thing, which is, I think, it's very speaks to their character, which counteracts some of the nastier shit they do, and the fact that some of them are very rough around the edges in this. Anything you want to say? We're being quiet for a little bit.
Yeah, you've looked over a couple things. Mostly the reason why Alan went to go break Joseph out of prison or out of jail and got thrown in himself.
Oh yeah, that was part. Was that part of the story he was telling to Joseph? I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, that little funny, a dumb little story he told about him hooking up with the girl had apparently he had the girl's boyfriend had cheated on her, so she decided to cheat on him with Alan. So Alan took her home, and he was drunk, and then he got word that the other guys have been arrested, and he goes to the police station, and they start arresting him because he had been in a fight. He's like, "Wait, how? I wasn't in a fight. How? Why would you think I was in a fight?" And it turns out his face is covered with period blood because apparently she had been on her period,
Yes.
which is a bit of a funny story, I guess, if a bit grody.
Yeah.
That's, I believe that story could be told pretty easily. That's something that I can imagine being told in this situation.
So there is some form of like brotherly bond between those two, enough to warrant him risking a night in the drunk tank with him.
Yeah, they have a bit of a relationship. Joseph hangs out, like I said, I think I've mentioned this earlier, but Joseph hangs out with Alan because he doesn't really have anybody, and that gets him into trouble. But and Alan hangs out with Joseph because, well, little brother, and he's wants a little bit more attention, but he's a bit of a delinquent himself. So yeah,
Yeah.
they have a nice little bit of a camaraderie in that. This is at least the second half of this movie is largely about them breaking apart as Alan goes into villainy. Alan has been the most vocal opponent to letting people into the compound because, well, to his point of view, the everyone they bring in that isn't a First Nations person is at a higher risk because they will get hurt.
I mean,
And
Alan's an asshole, no doubtably about that, but he's also right.
yeah, they are very much, the Red Crow First Nation is very much doing this out of the goodness of their heart and because it's the right thing to do. But there's a logical reason they might not want to do this.
Yeah.
But the movie, I think they do very much take. It does very much take Joseph's side in this. Joseph is obviously more sympathetic to the guy's coming because he has, well, white girlfriend, and also it's her that's bringing people into this. And they talk a big game about like, hey, we're just out, we're not here to help people, we're here to survive. But they do want end up helping people because I think deep down they do know it's the right thing to do. And
Hmm.
this has parallels, like, I mean, very early first contact, maybe not as much in Christopher Columbus area, but in up north here where fur trading was a thing, there was absolutely a big factor of a lot of the settlers couldn't have survived without first help from the First Nations. So this is a bit of a parallel to that. And that also brings, with that metaphor, it also brings out the fact that eventually the white man got too powerful and screwed them over. And I think that sort of thing sticks in the back of their heads, or in the back of some people's heads. And you can't do nothing about it. It's just something that you have to understand and you have to treat with understanding, I guess. Oh, and terrifying thing I've just realized in regards to the baby. The title of the movie is in reference to the blood quantum laws from the United States. I don't know that we do this in Canada. Not that that's, we do a bunch of other screwed up shit, but I don't know that this is a thing. You'd know better than I would, Cody. But in the state, or if they did it here, but in the states, your treaty status or whatever their equivalent is can be determined by the amount of can be dependent on your ancestry and what your how much First Nations blood you actually have, genetics you actually have in you, which is sometimes can get people screwed over because they pick they might have a lot of, their parents might be from the reserve, but they might have like a, I guess biracial would be the word, parent, and they picked up a lot of the genes, and that would have that can affect their access to treaty reserve funds and stuff, which is somewhat unethical, basically, because it screws
I
people
don't
over
know
occasionally.
if Canada did that, but I'm pretty sure they did because there was a point in time, because I'm Métis, that I couldn't go in and get my status. And I know my son can't go in and get status because I'm only so native, so he's only so native.
Although I don't know that it's literally based on blood here. Like I know cuz early on the way you'd get the way a First Nations person would get citizenship is they'd have to like basically turn away from their reserve and give up on their traditional way of life. So that would maybe get you out of a lot of stuff. And I think being Métis in a lot of ways does get people out of their treaty status, which is often pretty wrong. But yeah, the early I don't know that it's literally based on blood as it is in the States, which is literally based on how much genetic material you have in you. It's not as I know there's stuff where it can be physically equivalent, but I just don't know if we use that exact wording. And I'm not saying ours is better. I'm just saying it's not
And
this
I'm pretty
specific
sure
thing I'm not sure
Canada
of.
tried to make you be able to marry out of treaty status.
Yeah, that was a thing. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. But yeah, I think really back in the day you had to like give up, you had to like not be doing your cultural practices, you couldn't go back to the reserve at all. It was very much turn away from friends and family at a certain point. Yeah, I just don't know that we literally had the, okay, here's your blood test to see if you're enough genetic material to be on the thing. And maybe that's just because we have a bit more Métis culture in Canada. I don't know how prevalent that is a thing in the States. I know there's some there for sure.
We compare ourselves to the United States way too much. We need to get away from that.
Yeah,
Just disassociate ourselves from.
yeah, we have to do a lot of things similar just as and like occasionally we take inspiration from stuff they do. The odd time they take inspiration from stuff we do, but there's parallels, but it's not one to one.
Just cut ourselves off
And
from the
yeah, we do.
States and
You're right.
float off into
Yeah,
with Alaska in tow.
yeah. Just take Alaska with us. Take the Panhandle, like we should have gotten in. Take the Panhandle, which we deserve. Look it up. We almost we wanted we didn't want the Panhandle. Essentially, we wanted a system where like Alaska's border would have like gaps in it, so that, like you could port in like you'd have places where you could take port further north, like on like right now it's there's a certain part on the edge of BC that's like all Alaska coast, but if you we got what we wanted, you'd be able to like come into the Pacific Ocean into northern BC directly.
Huh.
Anyway, so a bunch of people in the compound get infected. The cops, I'm gonna call them, which is Trailer Joseph, Trailer Bumper, another guy, and then Grandpa, who got deputized early in the movie. They lure some of the zombies away with a car radio, and then go in to go help people. They manage to get a bundle of people out in a truck, and then it got another and then got trapped in there. They had to fight their way out. They managed to sneak out, but Trailer gets caught under a door and gets eaten by zombies. So yeah, they have maybe like 8 survivors. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Um
Just adding on to the gore discussion here. When we say get eaten by zombies, they're like pulling out intestines. They're
yeah, lots of that going on in this.
ripping holes into the dude. Like it's not.
After that, some of the survivors get captured, or some of the rest of the Red Crow people get captured, including Doris, who sends out a message, and Alan ends up executing her by a zombie because he's being a villain at this point. So Grandpa and Joseph go to rescue the hostages. They kill Shooker and free everyone. Alan has snuck around and killed one of the deputies. I forget which one, and then almost gets ready, and then looses a zombie onto Charlie, getting her bitten, but he gets shot, which eventually leads to Joe catching up to him and stabbing him and leaving him for the zombies. Yeah, no, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, not the way I'd want to go.
So they flee to the coast to go get to a boat. One of the deputies comes around with a boat and picks them up. The grandpa stays. He's also really badass. Let's just talk about how badass the grandpa is for a minute. He has like a katana sword. He is living the fucking zombie apocalypse dream. He has a katana. He is just being he is doing what everyone wants to. Yeah. No,
like
he is
60,
living the
maybe
fucking dream,
70.
man. He's just like they get to the boat, and he's just like, no, I won't leave this land again. And then ends his appearance in the movie, cutting down like 20 zombies which ends in like which they play over some powwow music. Is this one? Is that I'm using that word right?
Yeah.
His last stand, and it ends with another little brief little animated segment where he stands there and he says some stuff in the Mi'kmaq language. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I was informed this morning I was pronouncing it.
Oh no, you're probably butchering all of this.
It's I tried copying pasting.
And I mean, he does have a name, and you've been
Yeah, I
calling
mean
him
he's
Grandpa.
uh yeah well I'll see if I can get this. Yeah
Gisigu?
oh Mick yeah uh yeah
Oh wow.
Mi'kmaq,
Okay.
I think something like that. I'm getting it close as I can. I wasn't able to track down anything that pronounces it for me.
The guy who plays Trailer is actually from Saskatchewan.
Oh, cool. Always good
Yeah.
to do that. Always good to highlight another Saskatchewan actor.
Hmm.
So yeah, he gets an awesome little last stand. Flip to my last page of notes. So Charlie gives birth on the boat. It's a little girl. She holds her briefly, and but has to take her back, but gives her back to Joss and Joseph after a moment, and they have to kill her because she's going to turn at any moment. The movie ends on a shot of Joss holding the baby, and they just sit on it a little bit too long, and like, because I mean, it's been established that zombie babies are a thing, and I hadn't heard the baby make a noise in enough time, and at a certain point, I was just like, "Stop!" I got halfway through, and I was just like, "Stop!" and stop the movie before something else bad happens. And thankfully, I cut off before I could finish that sentence. Yeah, no, it was nerve wracking.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
The characters don't show enough motion in this scene.
yeah.
Like Joseph doesn't comfort the person; he just straight up executes here,
I
like
mean,
at
it's
all.
not all that bad. It's not all that bad, but he's yeah.
The chick's like basically like, "Hey, take care of my kid," and then he shoots her in the head.
It's not as bad as like the one where what's his name shoots Lenny in of Mice and Men. That's pretty fucking cold blooded. But no, I like. There's something to be said that the actors quite aren't quite of a caliber that they need to be, which is yeah. But I think they do an okay job. Certainly for horror, I think they're okay. No, yeah, this is probably the scariest movie we did in the thing. It's like because that zombie baby just sticks with you, and I couldn't get out of that. I think I woke up at 2:30 in the morning with like running that over in my head. Fuck me.
It's not even it does visual horror well, and it does it with a lack of jump scares.
Yeah.
You
No,
don't
yeah,
get a whole lot of those,
this shit sticks with you good. Yeah.
which is something that modern horror has kind of fixated on.
The closest we get is when I think Bumper cuts someone in half and like hangs them from their entrails from a higher floor, and this half a zombie just bounces down like a good 10 feet in front of trailer so he can shoot him, which isn't even that
Yeah.
jump scary. But yeah, well, I liked it. I'm giving it 7 out of 10. I think it could be better. It's a bit much for me, to be honest. Like I kind of lose like I don't have a lot of like 4 movies where like everyone dies at the end, which yeah, it's much. It's a bit much for me. I'm not saying a hopeful thing would have been more appropriate, but I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty good though. I would have liked to see this on IMAX.
Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna give it like a huge, like probably a decent 8 I mean, there's a
Okay,
couple of
yeah.
things that could have been done that would have made more sense, but I don't know. It just seems shoehorned. Like the whole setting, sorry, the whole like premise of the second half of the movie is kind of a little askewed.
Underdone, yeah. Yeah, the first half of the movie is actually the best part. Yeah, it's just got more stuff going on, and like the cover, the cover is Alan in his in a big mask getup with a big halberd type thing, which is promising a lot of Mad Maxian stuff, which isn't all that prevalent, but it's prevalent. It's just not quite as
Yeah.
stylized as like a Mad Max. But there's, I mean, there's stuff there. There's like a battle axe made out of gears, which is pretty awesome. And like
Hmm.
I said, Grandpa Gigas is pretty badass. So sorry, it's that's why I was calling him Grandpa. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
pretty badass. Like there's a lot of there's you're getting a good bit of Mad Maxian stuff in this, and it is kind of set in
Hmm.
like Mad Maxian age, so I kind of like it. And it's got its own nice neat yeah, it's got a nice little aesthetic on it, so it's pretty damn good. So yeah, I think it's got a lot to say, and it does it pretty well. There's just like a couple notes where like I mean it's a bit heavy and
And tone back on the
it's not
fucking
going to be
gore.
something. Yeah, it could be a little softer actually. Yeah, it's a
Once
little
again,
bit much.
the scene with the chainsaw that just gets to me because, like, if the
Oof,
choice
yeah.
was getting zombie blood in my mouth, there's somebody
Ugh. Oh god.
like,
Another thing I'll note is the zombie makeup in this is actually sometimes it's not all that thick in places. Like there's guys that
no.
are just like there, and I think this is kind of like to highlight the quote unquote race thing, which I think is appropriate in this based on the themes they're doing. Like occasionally there's just like, okay, this is clearly a human being, and I think that's just to highlight the theme of the movie. Yeah, pretty good. I like it. It's just like a bit heavy-handed, and I don't know, or not like with its themes, but just like it's a bit too much for a lot of people. I like a lot of the First Nations cultural stuff they put in. It's very good. It's always there's so many times when people half-ass this sort of thing. And it's nice to know it was you're for once getting something that's in good hands. It isn't getting like toned down for people for like dumb white people, which it sucks. Like I want to see like a lot of if I want to like I don't want things. This might I know my dumb white person's perspective, but it's I don't want things dumbed down for me. I want to see more of the culture and like more of that art. The ending credits song is actually a song that's in English in like a powwow style, which I listened to all the way through, mostly half because I was looking to get credit information from the credits, but that was very interesting, and I've always thought it would be that's something we should do a bit more. Is we should when they show like a powwow on TV or something, put subtitles on it so that people realize that those are words being said, which is something that's always I always thought would be good because it's a bit of culture they're showing, and they're just. I mean, first of all, it's sometimes hard for people to tell what the words are, and it's should be. It would help better portray what's going on with the culture, and that would, I think, make it more culturally understandable, which I think is good. It spreads awareness and whatnot. So, any other thoughts?
No, I got really sidetracked by looking up Michael Gray Eyes, who played Trailer in that. He also played
Yeah.
in Togo, which is it's a film about dogs.
Oh,
um,
okay.
and yeah, the dog in Togo was played by a dog named Diesel, and I can't find the Wikipedia page for him, but I was very convinced it'd be out there somewhere. It was not.
Well, anyway, next week we're going to be starting our sub theme for the season, which is some of the worst movies to win Best Picture, and we're starting with the 1956 version of Around the World in 80 Days, which I will be reviewing from our old friend Victoria Koops next week. So yeah, stay tuned for that. The first episode with one of the guests with the other hosts. So yeah, stay tuned. And I think I'm going to end the episode there.